Andy Silva.
Yeah.
People who aren't with us anymore, but
Yeah.
this is the man.
Right.
All right. Well, I take it everyone enjoyed the film, so that's awesome. Like I said earlier, this is actually the first time I've seen the film without, maybe my brother or someone looking over my shoulder. That's been about it. So the first time with an actual audience and hearing your reactions really means a lot to me. So thank you.
The music's great.
Good job.
Yes.
I like the music.
The CGI is impressive too.
The music for the film was done by Chris Barr. He composer I met a few years ago from Texas. Did a fantastic job on the film. And the song at the end was sung by a Toronto artist named Raina, who got her name. Her parents were TOS fans, and they named her after an Android character from an original episode. And it just happened. We were trying to figure out what kind of music we wanted at the end, and the actor who played the Vulcan in the film, Jesse Tebbs, knew this singer named Raina, who I actually knew, and we didn't realize we knew the same person, and we're like, well, why don't we talk to her? She's into spacey kind of music, and just felt that song really went with the journey that the character Pond goes on in the film, and fortunately she said yes, and so we were able to use her track in the film.
Yeah, it wraps it up nice. I like it.
The sound effects are good.
So yeah, any questions anyone would like
John.
to ask? Yeah.
Quick question, because this was essentially filmed mostly in the past, is that how you get around the 15-minute limit?
Yes. So I know CBS has those new guidelines where a film can only be so long and everything, but because this started in 1985, they grandfathered it, so we were allowed to continue with that.
I noticed that the number on the ship was 1704.
Yes. Yeah.
My brother and I have been planning for a little while now, trying to make something and base it on the Yorktown. And so when I heard this was coming out, I had to be here.
Yeah.
But I had been doing a lot of research trying to find the numbers, and I came up with 1717, and some people came up with 1704. Did you have that problem when you were researching it to make the ship?
Well, we used 1704 because that's the number that was designated for the ship back in the 80s. I know it changed a little bit, different hands over the years, but and some people might know here, there was those original blueprints done by, I think it's Joseph something, or Joseph Francis, and he had used 1704, so that's the number that we went with, because that's what they had done the original model for in the 80s for that. So, yeah.
So for the shark vessel, did you guys reuse the Vulcan vessel from the motion picture?
No, but so Andrew Probert designed all the ships for Yorktown, and he designed the Vulcan shuttle for the motion picture. So he had done ships that were similar to his original design for the Vulcan shuttle. I know it's a little bit hard to see because it's a little bit blurry, this screen, but when you're watching it on YouTube or Vimeo, you'll see there's cannons on the ship and stuff like that, and it's a little bit bigger than what the Vulcan shuttle would be. So it's certainly based on that design, and fortunately he designed the Vulcan shuttle, so we were able to get away with it. So it's kind of, we looked at it as being like stolen technology that Shark uses in the film. So, yeah. Yes?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, this is actually the first movie that establishes that Sulu's name is Hakaru.
I believe so. So
Yeah.
I think at the time maybe it was only in novels and such that it was mentioned. Stan Wu is a huge trekker, so he wanted to make sure he had all those sort of things in it. And yeah, he had George deliver the line. When George recorded that line, that would have been in the early 90s when he did the ADR. So before, I think it would have been right before Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, did the audio.
Cool, you did that.
Oh, yes.
Is George Takei seen the finished product, and do you have a reaction?
So we don't know yet what his reaction is, but Stan just sent a copy of the film to his partner the other day. So I have a feeling, if he hasn't seen it yet, he should be seeing it soon. So hopefully it's going to be a good reaction. I think it will be. Any other questions? Yes.
So the original crew that worked behind the scenes, have they been involved, or did you just take over and they kind of just let you go, or were they still involved, or they, how do they look at it?
Most of them still very much, well, producer-wise, Stan Wu has been involved from the very start, so 36 years. The director of the film, DeHaan, I've had contact with. He lives in China now, so he's not really able to get here to help with that sort of thing, but he has seen some of the footage and gave input on it and was pleased with what he saw. And yeah, so as far as like the film crew and stuff, no, none of those people worked on the film, but they've given their input over the years on how they felt it was looking and that sort of thing.
So was the film just sitting in a garage for 15, 20 years, or how?
That's a long story. So the original footage, Stan Wu had it, and somehow in the early 90s, the footage got lost. He thought that he had maybe left it in the back of his car, that it got broken into and the footage was stolen. It turned out that his mother had just put some stuff on top of it. It was in a closet and got buried. So yeah, I guess it would have been in the early 2000s. I think Stan found the footage, but he still wasn't sure what to do with it at the time. So he had talked to James Cawley, Star Trek New Voyages. They talked about making maybe like an episode using it. But Stan decided not to go that route. He kind of wanted it to be his own story, not part of a New Voyages episode. And it would have been around that time in 2010 that I contacted him. The reason I contacted him was because when I was a boy, age 12, I read about Yorktown in Starlog magazine. And I remember being really intrigued by the pictures I saw, the costumes and everything. It looked basically like a lost episode of Star Trek. And so when I reached out to Stan in 2010, it was as a fan. I was just curious if the film had ever been put online. I had looked everywhere, I couldn't find it. And I reached out to about, I think, 4 or 5 different Stan Wus in LA, and finally found the right one. And he told me that he had footage, but he just hadn't finished the film yet, and he wasn't sure what he was going to do with it. A little bit about my background: I studied theater arts in college in Ottawa, Canada. And so I said to him, and I mean, I was kind of, reaching for the stars at that point, but I said, well, I know a lot of actors, maybe we could help finish these scenes that you still need to film, because he mentioned he hadn't finished all the scenes. And so that's how we kind of courted each other, as it were, into working on the project together. And it was a bit of a slow start, because, I was someone new, and Stan, who is this guy from Canada? But I helped him rewrite the script and co-wrote all the scenes that take place on the bridge. And a few years later, in 2013, we went to Oklahoma and shot the bridge scenes there. And after that, we shot some Klingon scenes in San Francisco. And the scenes where you see Pond, or the back of Pond on the ship, and his girlfriend who's trapped on the other side, that was filmed in Vancouver. And those were sets that weren't Star Trek sets, but we felt they looked good for like the inner workings of the ship. And yeah. So as you saw in the end credits, we kind of filmed everywhere. I think we're probably the only film that's used footage from the New Voyages bridge, from the Oklahoma bridge set, and there's actually a few shots borrowed from Farragut of this set, which we got permission to use. So when you see them shaking at the beginning of the ship, yeah, that's Farragut crew members.
So when you say original footage, was it film? Was it video that was found? I mean, what was the process of bringing it to a digital format?
Oh, so the, are you referring to the shot I sent out on?
Well, I thought I saw an 8mm film stock in the credits, so was this originally shot on film, the stuff in the 80s?
Yeah, so all of the original footage in the 80s was shot on 8mm camera. And then the new footage we shot was all shot on digital cameras. It's just easier to do, less expensive. But really had to make the footage match. And I know it's a little hard to see because this screen's a bit blurry, but when you're watching on YouTube or Vimeo, you'll notice that the footage really blends in. And this took a lot of experimentation, but what I did was I sampled the original 8mm footage that Stan shot and just white balanced it, played around with it, and then put layer after layer after layer on top of the new footage, and had to blur, because video looks very crisp. I had to make sure our faces and everything were a little bit blurry so it matched the original footage. And one good example in the film, there's a scene where there's an admiral giving a briefing, talking to Admiral Nagura and the captain. And that admiral was shot in LA about 4 years ago. And so we put him in an original costume, and we just added the film grain, a little bit of green screen behind him, but you can't really tell. And I think it worked really well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wouldn't know that was shot 4 years ago.
Did you have a lot of footage? Like, are we seeing like all the footage? Like, you try to use every bit of it, or did some of it hit the floor?
I tried to use as much of the footage as I could. A little bit that went on the cutting room floor was some of the new bridge stuff that we shot. Just because I had to balance the scenes with the fisticuffs, the fight scene on the planet with Stan and the shark guy. And I wanted the speed to work. So I've got about 6 minutes of footage that I might repurpose possibly as another short film in the future. So.
But you used all of George's.
All of George's.
Right, that's all you said.
Except for that cutaway of him singing that we saw in the video. That wasn't in the film, but every other shot of George is in the film. And then there was a shot where we used rotoscope to have George and the captain on the bridge for a quick cutaway. Just because I felt it was really important. I didn't want to just see them beaming onto the planet. So we wanted to have them when they're leaving the space station on the bridge. So that was all recent rotoscope that we did. Yeah.
So what was the issue between your interview and today that you thought that you were going to have it done in a few months that ended up taking that amount of time?
That's a very good question. Well, there's a couple things. One was, I guess the big thing was special effects. It took a very, very long time. Roland Barron did the model work for us, the CGI model work, but it was just taking a very, very long time. So I ended up going to a different artist in England, Samuel Calkins, who's done great work on a lot of Star Trek fan films. And oh my gosh, he was just like boom, boom, boom. Within 3 months, we had all the new shots done. And so he was very helpful with that. And Henry Gibbons from New Zealand helped me with a lot of shots that you wouldn't even know watching the film that he did. Like, the shots of Nagura in the film, there was a British flag behind him, which I never really liked. I was like, why is there a British flag behind this Starfleet admiral? And so we just changed it to a United Federation of Planets banner, which just suited the space station more. And you wouldn't know watching it that this was something added to it. And the little garbage can, which is the drone, there's like glowing lights you see spinning around when he activates it. That's all stuff that Henry added after the fact, and just helps flush it out, make it feel more real. So.
Sweet.
Yes.
So, one of the big things I noticed was their insignias were different. Like, what was the theory behind that, or was that just like a copyright thing?
No, it was. If you watch like the original Star Trek show, whenever it was like the Defiant or another ship, they always had like a different shirt badge, and so they wanted to have their own kind of Yorktown badge.
Different ships had different insignias.
Yeah, and this one was designed specifically for the film. I've seen another emblem that's kind of a triangle shape that's online a lot for Yorktown, but yeah, this is the design they went with, and I like it. Reminds me of a CRISPR chip, but yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Yes.
Do you have any stories on what's used for some of the props, like some of the things that they're like using for like grenades or something like that?
Boy, that's a Stan Wu question. Some of the stuff I don't know. Like there's that really cool grenade that he throws, and I think that was just something they put together with clear plastic and some I don't know, foam parts or whatever. What else was a really cool prop I like? On the sick bay when we filmed on Colley's set, it was just some camera equipment that he was holding as like a scanner that worked. I don't know. There's a lot of found stuff, and then really good props like the Star Trek, the cage style communicator that Stan has when he's on the planet. I know that was a custom made. That was actually something that we added to the film about maybe 7 months ago that he filmed that a friend owned. And there's a lot of shots like that too. When Stan's character is in the cabin and he's got the tricorder and stuff and activating it. The tricorder, all that stuff was new footage that we added to the old footage. In the old footage, it was him loading guns and guns and guns, and I felt it didn't feel too Star Trek to me. So we kept some of the gun footage, but I wanted to add some other stuff and help the story progress and kind of tie in the relation to Pond and Admiral Nagura. So if you didn't catch it, Admiral Nagura is his grandfather. That's how he knows he's on the planet. Yes?
Remind me why Zulu is in New York.
So it's supposed to be, this movie takes place about maybe a year and a half before the motion picture. So at that time, I guess the Enterprise would have been in dry dock, they would have been refitting it, that sort of thing, so he wouldn't be part of Kirk's crew at that time. So he's just really on special assignment to the ship. And, of course, Stan was able to get him, so. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
A little technical, sorry if it is. So the original 8 was shot at 27 FPS. The video that you guys shot afterwards, did you shoot it at 27 and then convert it to 30, or?
I actually couldn't tell you. I'm not sure what it was shot at. I'm not sure. But
it seems to be smooth like the 8 was.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it was. Sorry, I can't answer that question. But yeah, we wanted to make sure like the film, the new footage had the same kind of feel. So like we matched, the way they shot with their cameras and everything. And yeah, we just added a lot of Super 8 layers to it, and it was all from the original footage. I got kind of lucky because Stan was testing a shot of a like a toy rocket. They were flying up in the air, and he went like this and was shooting up in the pale blue sky for like 30 seconds, and I was like, oh, thank you. So I was able to white balance that Super 8 footage and then just use it on top of all the new digital footage we shot. So it was nice because I didn't really want to use stock Super 8 that you can buy online because I just feel a lot of times it doesn't match. So throughout the entire film, it's still Stan's film is how I feel.
Are we talking Super 8 like I used to shoot with my dad's little Kodak camera?
Exactly. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Wow.
How long ago did you shoot your speeches? You look the same from that 2013 interview.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you. I don't know. We shot that at the end of 2013, so just before Christmas, and that was fun. Let me tell you. I flew down from Toronto, where it was nice and green, no snow yet, and suddenly we hit a huge snowstorm, and we ended up being trapped at the airport for about, I think it was about 17 hours. So I got to Oklahoma pretty late, and then on the way back, we got hit by another snowstorm, and it was about 26 hours before I got home. It was crazy. So, yeah.
I think it was the beer.
It was the beer?
It was the beer.
Oh,
That's what kept you
probably.
Well, he had a beer in his hand during that interview. Wasn't
That was a great interview. Yeah,
Yeah,
have a
beer,
beer. Let's
beer,
get
yeah.
talking. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and actually, so John Faust, who went by Danvers in that interview, I had known him through conventions and stuff like that. He's not a huge Star Trek fan. He's more into like He-Man stuff, whatever. But he asked me about filming that interview in Los Angeles at PowerCon. And after we finished the interview, we were talking more about the bridge stuff because we hadn't filmed it yet. And I said, you've directed some films. How would you like to direct this? And he said, yeah, I'd love to. And so from that, he ended up coming on board as a director, and he shot all the bridge scenes for us. And I think he did a fantastic job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you hear his voice a little bit throughout the film. And he was the engineer during the beginning of the film. And there was some cut footage of him in the new costume at the end of the film that I would really love to use in like another short film if we can do it. So, yeah.
Can you talk about the uniforms you got?
Yeah, actually, if you haven't seen, I brought 2 of the shirts. They're over on the other side there. Those are new uniforms that were done, well, new, I say, in 2013. But they were done by the same seamstress that made the costumes back in '85.
Oh, wow.
And the tan colored shirt, it's just a cotton material. And then the blue shirt is a stretchier blue, almost like a spandex material. I'm very glad that I got to wear the cotton tan shirt and not the spandex one. But yeah, you know, they're simple, but they're great. They were made to look very much like the original series uniforms as far as the cut goes. And then Stan was inspired by the motion picture, so he wanted to have the rank on the shoulder, and kind of, I look at the movie uniforms as well too, you know, the rank on the sleeve there. But to me, it's a nice transition uniform between the original series and the motion picture, so I think it really worked well. And I did ask him about red shirts, because I kind of wanted to put a red shirt on the bridge, and he said, no, Yorktown, they only wear blues and the tans, because he wanted to be a little more like the modern Navy at the time, so that's where we went with, yeah.
Cool.
When you say tan, we probably mean gold.
Well, to me, I don't know, that looks like a kind of more of a tan shirt, but I think Star Trek, you know, gold, Captain Kirk, but Stan refers to it as a tan, so it's more of a tan color, yeah, or a sandy color. And the colors on the shoulders and stuff, he based all of that on the motion picture colors that were used. So red would be engineering, and yellow would be, well, I don't know, what would yellow be? Command, yeah. So, and this one would have been one of the uniforms worn on the station. So it's a different patch than what's on the Yorktown shirt. So.
I believe Star Trek Continues explains why they went with the Enterprise logo on everybody's uniform.
Yeah, I think it's the last episode of Star Trek Continues they do that. Yeah, which is
because they were paying honor to the Enterprise or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like you want.
Any other questions or?
Thank you.